Hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Clyde. We've got another Bleach video. I love these. I loved his explaining the Bankai, explaining the Zeros, how strong Ichigo is at certain transformation points, and now we've got an explanation on Resurreccion. Let's check it out.
As a fan of Bleach, I hear it all too often that a lot of people believe the series of Bleach hit its peak in the Soul Society arc, and from there,
Soul Society arc was
amazing
though.
A very simple, linear path without actually improving. Reused the same formula for each arc, or to them, just went downhill in basically every conceivable way. And I gotta say, I've always hated this lame consensus, as I think Mr. Kubo made one of the most complex and interesting power systems in Shonen Jump.
It is cool,
magazine,
like, it is really,
story
really
that
freaking
genuinely
awesome.
has some of the most fascinating ideas, races of characters, and some of the best fights I've ever seen.
The way they transform,
Not to mention
the way the
his
transformations
nuanced,
affect
subtle
them.
writing style is incredibly underrated and something I've spoken about in plenty of my old videos. Where some say the series hit its peak in the Soul Society arc in terms of excitement and storytelling, I say they are absolutely wrong. Because if Mr. Kubo never continued Bleach beyond the Soul Society arc, we would have never seen some of our favourite moments in the series.
Oh my god, some of the fights after that are incredible, they really do stand out.
Some of the most recognisable material in Shonen Jump magazine.
Yes.
In my explaining Bankai video, I compared Bankai to Super Saiyan, Kyuubi Chakra Mode, and Gear Second in terms of how iconic it is to the series of Bleach, and how it is one of the coolest things Mr. Kubo came up with. It's even cooler to think that he created something just as, if not even more cool than Bankai. And once again, had the series ended during the Soul Society arc, we'd have never seen it. That is
Resurreccion.
In today's video, I'm going to talk about Resurreccion, explain how strong the form is, depending on the user, some cool little details about it, what makes Resurrections different to others, and also some stuff you may not know here and there when it comes to the forms in general.
It's cool that they gave it like a name and everything.
Bleach, please make sure to hit that subscribe button.
Definitely subscribe to Clyde's channel. He is so good at talking about Bleach stuff now.
Plenty of content in the future. And also, don't forget to follow my Twitch in the description for Bleach-related streams. I'll most likely be live when this video goes up, so make sure to go check out the link in the description below. Resurrections are essentially an Oronkar's version of Bankai, as thanks to the Hogyoku and the removal of a Hollow's mask, Aizen was able to give the Espada and Fraction the ability to seal their powers into a Zanpakuto, which they can release whenever they want. On top of it, also amplifying the level of power, a little detail some people actually forget about. For Hollows like Stark, this is quite convenient, as it allows him to be able to operate in everyday life without killing someone with his spiritual pressure by accident, alongside being able to fuse or split apart with Lilynet at any given time. Or the same goes with Ulquiorra and his alien-like spiritual pressure according to Uryu, as if he was to be walking around in his second release form all the time, it would definitely be an issue. In comparison
just
to
try and push a door open and it's like,
rather straightforward.
Oh no!
Abilities aren't too complex. Most of the Espada already had unique abilities of their own before they even became Oronkar and Espada, which can be used when they transform into their original forms using Resurreccion and their Zanpakutos. For Baragan's case, he can actually access his Respira ability once he activates his Resurreccion and goes back into his original form, which is also the case for some of the others. One interesting visual to the Resurreccion is that for Baragan, he basically goes into a form that looks like how he used to look when he first met Aizen.
When he was back in the...
characters like Hallibel and Ulquiorra go into forms that look different to the ones shown in the past, which to me is obviously because as they became Oronkar and were given buffs by the Hogyoku, they evolved more and more, just like how Stark even appears much different than he used to look in flashbacks. As they became Espada,
Grimjaw looks very close to what he looked originally.
Their visual appearance also changed too.
Healing and defense.
Resurreccion actually have the benefit of buffing many attributes of the person who activates them. For example, Noyatora
I'm liking the editing style on this,
are able to make their Hiero much stronger when they transform. Something I'd actually say Ulquiorra doesn't get enough credit for, as Holified Ichigo could damage base Ulquiorra, then when he went into his first Resurreccion, he couldn't even touch his skin, because just the spiritual pressure
quite a boost.
His body alone was too strong. In his second release,
and his speed was so greatly increased.
Along with taking hundreds of amped arrows from Uryu, as if they are made out of paper. Ulquiorra even asks Uryu in a sarcastic manner if his seal Schneider is meant to hurt him when he whips it out. He basically just looks at it and he's like, what the f*** is that?
Is that it?
Along with their ability to increase their defense by going into Resurreccion, they can actually heal wounds that were sustained in their base form. This may
like they're
not
gone
apply
as if it
to
never happened,
every
that's
Espada,
close.
but it does appear that Grimmjow was going to release against Shinji because he was sick of fighting him in such a nerfed state, and would have been able to heal himself, then go all out with his amped power. Though once again, this could be a thing for only certain Espada, as Grimmjow and Luffy seem to be super surprised with Orihime's ability to heal. His arm
Yeah, okay, right, yeah.
So it's like, if you were Grimmjow, wouldn't you just go into an open space of Hueco Mundo, release
activate your Resurrection, and then be healed? Yeah.
To your base form? The same could be said about Yami.
That is interesting, right? Okay, so not everyone can.
Grimmjow and Yami were both going to be removed from the Espada for only having one arm. Once again, nothing is set in stone here, but Ukiura does state that his healing ability is special, meaning the others must have some kind of healing factor.
Right, but maybe not to that level.
When he released into his Resurrection.
Maybe they can just heal like scratches and cuts and stuff.
Super impressive or special. Like, it just seems like he has the most bare minimum of the Espada when it comes to healing, and he can do something that crazy, like heal all of his arm. I mean, we've actually seen in the past, like, much weaker normal hollows, like not even
do stuff like that, yeah.
or anything like that. Like, we've seen random hollows have better healing than some of the Espada seem to have, so they should at least have some degree of healing. That being said, though, it is pretty wild to think that Ukiura could have been even stronger than he was in his second release form, but he decided to choose healing over just raw power.
Right.
His raw power that was shown was still
so
absolutely
goddamn
insane
massive.
and could keep up with the Vasto Lorde.
What is the multiplier?
A lot of people are always curious as to how much of an increase
that's the other form from the game, isn't it?
Their release date, as unlike Bankai, there are basically no direct statements that 100% confirm what the increase is, other than the direct comparisons to Bankai from Urahara, the fact that the forms themselves are based on Shinigami release forms, and Tosen claims that holification is a greater power than Bankai, and this is a Shinigami who is over 100 years old, so he has absolutely mastered his own
definitely
Bankai,
experienced it, like, yeah.
making it 10 times his base power. Then he has a Resurreccion of his own, which would make Resurreccion bare minimum 10 times. There are statements like Resurreccion being several times of an increase in power, but this seems to be the absolute bare minimum of an increase, and more so aimed at Fraction rather than the Espada. As, if Espada only got a 3 times increase in power when they transform, any captain that is already relative to them in power, and we know that they're over 100 years old, would get a 10 times increase in Bankai and easily just slap them.
Boom.
It also contradicts the Tosen statements, and it's obvious the higher Espada have a solid 10 times increase, as they are specifically told not to release their Resurrections under the canopy of Lost Oceans.
Yeah, you'll destroy it.
Also, if Tosen is saying holification can already be a power beyond Bankai, and he has a Resurrection of his own, it's kind of obvious that a Resurrection is a huge multiplier.
Yeah.
You could make the argument that he's only talking this way due to his infatuation with his new power while rubbing it
yeah, it could be. It could like proper
but
over-talking
he makes that
it.
statement before he starts acting out of character. He only becomes erratic and deranged when he has the ability to finally see, which is in his Resurrection, not holification, which is where he made the statement. Unlike Bankai, Resurrections consistently seem to multiply the speed of Espada too,
they go
as when it comes to Bankai,
hella fast.
some Bankai seem to get an increase in speed for the user, whereas basically every Arrancar that uses their release forms then get huge increases in their speed. Ukiura, Grimmjow, Hullybell, plenty of Fraction all show us this in their battles.
Special Resurrection.
In Stark and Yami's case, in comparison to the other Espada, they actually have special Resurrections. Yami's Resurrection allows him to get what appears to be infinitely stronger as he gets angrier, plus that is his aspect of death. And for him to go into his Resurrection and maximize its full potential, he stores spiritual pressure inside of himself to perform a huge complete release. When Chad faces off against Yami again, he actually claims that Yami is much larger than when he first faced him, due to this storing of power that I mentioned. Also, a side note, Yami has a second release form like Ukiura does, which is completely different than his first release.
Right.
When he goes into his first Resurrection, his Espada number changes from his fake number 10 to the real rank of 0. What's interesting is that the number stays on his body even in his second release, whereas Ukiura's doesn't. This could either mean that Ukiura's second release form is just stronger and its spiritual pressure
Doesn't
makes
need
the
a
number
number.
marking vanish, as it's obviously made of some kind of binding seal.
That's interesting. I never thought about it that way, yeah.
Like
Maybe he's so strong he doesn't need a number, yeah.
Or it's just an aesthetic choice by Mr. Kubo, as having a number on his body would kind of look out of place, I guess, considering the edginess of the design of Ukiura's second release.
It is very edgy.
Or Mr. Kubo just purely forgot it. Either way, it's a cool little detail nonetheless. I'll actually speak about Yami in a future video, so you'll hear more about my thoughts on him and why I believe that he's actually very underrated.
What happened to the Explaining
If you
Zeros
want to see
video?
that video in the future, please kindly leave a like on this video and let me know in the comments below. As for Coyote Stark, Stark's release is
the link to the
special,
original
just
video will
like
be in the
Ukiura
description.
and
Like,
Yami,
go
as he split
to
himself
the original video and
into
leave a like
two
there.
people due to how insanely strong he was in the past when he was actually solo. His spiritual pressure would literally kill those around him, meaning he had no friends or comrades, and when he met Aizen not only gave him a special release form, but gave him cool power-ups with the Hogyoku.
Here's some
When
cool
Stark
power-ups.
transforms, Lilian fuses with him, and then he has two cool-ass guns that he can use to fire Ceros. Once again, this is a character that I will definitely make a video on in the future,
sick.
so let me know if you want to see that,
Yeah.
because Stark is genuinely cool as hell.
Yeah,
and
he
there's
is.
a lot to talk about when it comes to him.
Forbidden
A
rules.
famous quote you'll remember from Ukiura if you've watched this series is that Ukiura states that two things are forbidden below the canopy of Los Noches. The sword release of Espada ranked 4 and higher, and the release of Gran Rey Zero by any Espada. It's pretty wild that the difference in power between the top 4 Espada and the others is so strong
It's
that
that
just by
big,
them
isn't it? Yeah.
casually releasing, they could destroy Los Noches
Just
without
gone.
even the intent to
Madness.
do so, whereas the other Espada have to use a forbidden attack to reach that level.
Special side notes.
A few little cool side notes to end off this video. Ardenyeto is actually the only Espada that isn't the true level of an Espada when it comes to general power.
Yeah.
And was only allowed to be an Espada because his power to consume and copy abilities was just that useful.
Ah, right,
and
okay.
it apparently has infinite potential. This ability allows him to mimic and use any power he absorbs, plus change his appearance to that individual, have access to their memories, copy their fighting styles, their
That is a
vernacular,
handy technique,
basically
like.
everything. Although I'm not a huge fan of Ardenyeto, to be completely honest, it's pretty OP, you know, you gotta admit. An interesting piece of info is that release dates can be modified/upgraded by external parties even without the Hogyoku. This is seen in Can't Fear Your Own World, where Mayuri altered the appearance of Luffy's release date and even gave him the ability to release Gran Rey Zeros from each of his 8 tentacles, showing that what I mentioned earlier is the case when it comes to Aizen, and he did upgrade some of the Espada, even when some of them were already the level of Vasto Lorde, which is really crazy when you think about it. Another little side note is that Kisuke actually believes that Resurreccions may not be able to be stolen by Quincy's when it comes to the medallion that they use in the war. He either believes that one, they just flat out can't steal Resurrections, or he believes that it would be disadvantageous for the Quincy's to just steal them in general. So they probably can, but there's no use to do it because, you know, the whole poison Quincy's thing. Just a little side note, but it's
Cool.
they weren't actually able to steal them. And there's a theory from one of the smartest characters in the entire series as to why.
Good video. Clyde's Bleach videos are class. They do really good explain. Wow, like, you know that thing I can't do with my mouth where I'm like, you know, words. Clyde does that better. And he's really good about it with Bleach. But where's his Explaining Zeros video going? That's an interesting one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Stark video. That'd be cool. I hope he does like individual ones on like the Espadas and that. That's cool. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what you're watching to us in future videos. And I'll see you guys. next time.